Hello, this is Sabata with the Equatoria Advocacy Foundation. I'm the Director for Resource Mobilization. I am here to make a little critique on what President Kiir of South Sudan has said about the national dialogue that was held in Juba, South Sudan, on the ending day of the national dialogue event. Kiir made a very remarkable speech, and on that speech, generally, he tried to make sense of the entire purpose of the national dialogue, and he did say that it is a process that is intended to take what's called people's points of view, resolutions from the communities, from the people, from the ordinary people, so that then those resolutions will be harmonized into what's called a constitutional making process. And this is with presumption. Then one could presume that it's because the revitalized RCs that got signed in 2018 September was basically political parties who have come, all right? So basically the ordinary people have not been heard. So one would presume that this is the purpose based on what Kiir was saying, and that sounds good, and I guess he made those comments out of the fact that he would like to clarify some allegations that were brought against him, that he is trying to bypass what has been signed as a revitalized RCs back in 2018 that's supposed to be implemented. Now, it sounded logical, and it sounded okay for such a process to be formed for the purpose that Kiir has mentioned on that speech. But here is still the problem with that. The fact that by constitutional mandate, we have a structural body that's called the parliament. And the parliament, based on the constitution of the Republic of South Sudan, the parliament are people's representatives, okay? So what the parliamentarians do is they are supposed to consult with their constituents, okay? And when they consult with their constituents, then they come onto the floor on the parliament and basically bring resolutions from the local communities, all right? And then come up with what is called resolutions. They will draft what is called resolutions on that floor, all right? This is basically the function of what is called the parliament. And then if that is the mandate of the parliament, and the parliamentarians are getting paid to do such kind of a job, then you would realize that it becomes unnecessary to form what is called committees to run what is called a national dialogue for the purpose that Kiir has mentioned. Why? Because basically when you're putting out those committees, you are going to be spending more money. So right now, the government has basically spilled more money in forming committees and forming national dialogue that took a couple of days. People had to be fed. People had to, money has been spent in that process. And that by itself basically is unnecessary spending of money, because the entire process and the resolution could have actually been obtained by what the parliamentarians are mandated to do by the constitution of the Republic of the country, because the parliamentarians could have actually consulted with their communities, with their constituents, and just come to the floor to negotiate and basically probably end up coming with the same resolutions. All right, this is one. Second, it basically undermines even the job of the parliamentarians. Then if we are going to adapt in South Sudan a system whereby whenever we want to hear from the communities, it has to be done through a national dialogue, then why have parliamentarians? Then there is no point of having a parliament, right? Because right now you're paying parliaments, right? Parliamentarians are being paid for what exactly? Doing pretty much nothing. And then whenever the opinions of communities are desired to be heard, then a national dialogue will be put. I think it's a very irresponsible way of running a state. And in the 21st century, I doubt if people run states like that. I mean, check other countries. They all either have assemblies or parliaments. And for that reason, they don't have national dialogues where some committees get formed in order to then put events around towns or in the capital city and have communities, chiefs, and all these kind of people come in. Oh, well, they already have what is called parliamentarians who are representing those constituents. Those parliamentarians are supposed to consult with the communities and come up with resolutions on the floor, and then finally make up what is called resolutions now that will be voices of the communities through the parliament. And this is pretty much what the parliamentarians are being paid for. And this is basically how states function, all right? Especially that branch of what is called the legislative branch, which is the parliament or assembly. This is pretty much how they function in the 21st century, right? So basically, I think it was a remarkable speech. The president tried to make sense of the purpose of putting a national dialogue, but for the reasons also that I've just provided, it is still unnecessary. It's a waste of money and undermining the responsibility of what is called the parliamentarians. Hey, thank you. I would probably come out again and make critique on some other issues around. Thank you very much. God bless you.